Have you ever laughed at exactly the wrong moment? Maybe it was at a funeral, someone was crying, the whole room was silent and heavy with grief, and out of nowhere something triggered it. A thought, a memory, a small detail that struck you as funny, and before you could stop it, it came out. A laugh, right there, in the worst possible moment, and the shame that followed was immediate. The looks people gave you, the way you wanted to disappear into the floor. You spent the rest of the day thinking, what is wrong with me? What kind of person laughs at something like that? Or maybe it was a serious conversation with someone you love. They were telling you something painful, something vulnerable, and your face did the thing. The corners of your mouth pulled up. Your shoulders started shaking. And you could see the hurt in their eyes as they watched you trying to hold it together. You weren't being cruel. You didn't think it was funny. But your body did something completely different from what your mind intended, and you had no idea why. Here's the truth that psychology has known for a long time, but almost nobody talks about outside of textbooks. Laughing at the wrong time is not a character flaw. It is not a sign that you are heartless or broken or strange. It is one of the most deeply human stress responses that exists. And once you understand what is actually happening inside your brain when it occurs, you will never look at yourself or anyone else the same way again. Your brain is constantly doing one job above everything else, keeping you safe, regulating your internal state, making sure you don't get completely overwhelmed by the emotional weight of whatever situation you are in. And when a moment becomes too intense, too sad, too tense, too serious, too uncomfortable, your brain sometimes reaches for the only release valve it has available: laughter. Psychologists call this nervous laughter or inappropriate affect, and it is not a choice. It is an involuntary neurological response. Your amygdala, which is the part of your brain that processes fear and emotional threat, sends out a signal that the current emotional load is too heavy. And your nervous system responds by triggering laughter as a way to release that pressure before it becomes overwhelming. Think of it like a pressure cooker. When too much heat builds up, the valve opens to let the steam out. Your laugh in that terrible moment is the steam. It is your nervous system doing its job just in the most socially inconvenient way possible. There is actually a name for the extreme version of this. It is called pseudobulbar affect, a neurological condition where people experience sudden uncontrollable episodes of laughing or crying that don't match the situation at all. People with PBA are not mentally unstable. Their emotional regulation circuits are simply misfiring in a way that sends the wrong signal at the wrong time. And while most people who laugh at funerals don't have PBA, understanding that condition tells us something important. It shows us that laughter is not always an emotional response. Sometimes it is purely a neurological one. Your brain firing a signal that has nothing to do with what you actually feel. But there is another layer to this that goes even deeper, and it has to do with anxiety. People who deal with social anxiety or generalized anxiety are significantly more likely to laugh at inappropriate moments. Here is why. When an anxious person enters a high-stakes emotional situation, a serious conversation, a tense confrontation, a moment of grief, their threat response fires at full intensity, their heart rate goes up, their thoughts start racing, their body goes into a mild state of fight or flight, and laughter, involuntary, nervous, completely unwanted laughter, becomes the body's clumsy attempt to signal that it needs a way out of the discomfort. It is the same mechanism that makes people smile when they are being yelled at, or giggle during a panic attack. The body is not responding to humor, it is responding to overwhelm, and laughter is the fastest emotional exit it knows how to use. There is also something called cognitive dissonance laughter, and this one is fascinating. It happens when your brain receives two completely contradictory signals at the same time and cannot reconcile them fast enough. A serious situation that contains one absurd detail, a tragic story that has one moment of accidental comedy buried inside it. Your brain registers both signals simultaneously, the grief and the absurdity, and before it can decide which one to process first, it defaults to laughter because laughter is the faster, lighter response. This is why dark humor exists as a psychological phenomenon. Comedians who make jokes about death, disaster, and suffering are not being disrespectful. They are doing something cognitively sophisticated, holding extreme pain and extreme absurdity in the same hand and finding the point where they intersect. Researchers at the Medical University of Vienna found that people who appreciate dark humor actually score higher on emotional intelligence and lower on aggression and anxiety. The ability to laugh at something terrible is not callousness. It is a highly evolved coping mechanism, and coping is exactly what is happening when you laugh at the wrong time. Think about every situation where inappropriate laughter typically appears. Funerals, hospital waiting rooms, serious arguments, moments of extreme embarrassment. These are all high-stress, emotionally loaded environments. Your nervous system is working overtime, and laughter, even when completely out of place, is releasing cortisol, dropping your heart rate, giving your brain a microsecond of relief from the emotional pressure it is carrying. Your body is not being disrespectful. Your body is surviving the moment the only way it knows how. Now, there is one more piece of this that almost nobody considers, and it is the social mirror effect. Laughter is one of the most contagious human behaviors that exists. Studies show that you are 30 times more likely to laugh when you are with other people than when you are alone. Your brain has mirror neurons, cells that fire in response to other people's emotional states, and they are wired to pick up on laughter and reflect it back almost automatically. So sometimes when you laugh at the wrong moment, it is not even fully internal. Someone else in the room had a micro-expression, a slight twitch, a suppressed sound, and your mirror neurons caught it before your conscious mind could filter it. You responded to something you didn't even consciously see. You were not laughing because you thought it was funny. You were laughing because your brain was doing what it is biologically designed to do, mirror the emotional environment around you in real time. So what do you actually do with all of this? First, stop punishing yourself for it. Laughing at the wrong time does not make you a bad person. It makes you a human being with a nervous system that is doing its best under pressure. The guilt you carry after one of these moments is almost always disproportionate to the actual harm caused. Second, if it happens, acknowledge it simply and move on. You don't need a 5-minute explanation or a spiral of apologies. A quiet, "I'm sorry, that was nerves," is enough. Most people understand more than you think, because most people have been there themselves. They just don't talk about it. And third, if you notice it happening frequently in situations that feel emotionally intense, that is worth paying attention to, not because something is wrong with you, but because it might be your body telling you that your anxiety is higher than you are consciously aware of, that there is emotional weight you're carrying that needs somewhere to go. And there are better release valves available than nervous laughter in a funeral home. The next time you catch yourself laughing at exactly the wrong moment, before the shame hits, take 1 second to recognize what actually just happened. Your brain protected you, clumsily, awkwardly, in the most socially inconvenient way imaginable, but it protected you. That is not something to be ashamed of. That is something to understand. And understanding yourself, even the parts that embarrass you, is always the beginning of something better. If this made you think of a moment you've been carrying guilt about, drop it in the comments. You'd be surprised how many people have the exact same story. Share this with someone who needs to hear that they're not broken, because they're not. See you in the next one.